What if the most terrifying character in a horror film wasn't the witch, the demon, or even the devil himself, but a goat? In 2015, Robert Eggers' The Witch stunned audiences with its chilling atmosphere and unsettling realism. Yet the figure that lingered in everyone's mind was not the family's downfall, the cursed woods, or even the witch in the shadows. It was a black goat named Philip. With his cold, dark coat, curling horns, and eyes that seemed to hide ancient secrets, Black Phillip became more than livestock. He became a symbol of temptation, rebellion, and whispered promises. Some saw just an animal, others saw the devil in disguise. And by the time he finally spoke, one question echoed through theaters and still chills audiences today. Would you like to live deliciously? Stay with us as we uncover how a simple goat became one of horror cinema's most unforgettable icons.
To truly grasp the terror of Black Phillip, we must step into the world of The Witch. The film is set in 1630s New England, a time when life itself felt like a constant battle against sin, nature, and the unknown. Families lived on the razor's edge of survival, isolated farms surrounded by endless forests that seemed to breathe with unseen forces. For the Puritans, every shadow was suspicious, every hardship a possible punishment from God, and every whisper of witchcraft a threat to the soul. Religion was not a private matter but the very air they breathed. Fear of damnation shaped every action, every thought. In their worldview, Satan was not an abstract idea. He was a lurking presence, waiting to corrupt the faithful at their weakest. Superstition ran deep, and symbols carried heavy weight. Goats, vital for milk and survival, also bore dark associations. Their unruly nature, piercing eyes, and stubborn defiance made them seem closer to wildness than holiness. And the color black? It was feared as the shade of sin, the cloak of death, and the devil's chosen disguise. From European folklore came the belief that black animals, especially goats, were companions of witches, sacrifices in unholy rites, and even avatars of Satan himself. This is the backdrop into which Black Phillip steps. Not just a goat, but a living embodiment of centuries of fear, suspicion, and whispered legends. In such a world, his presence was never neutral. He was already marked as dangerous, already cast in the role of a silent threat long before he ever spoke. The choice of a goat, specifically a black goat, as the centerpiece of terror in The Witch was no accident. Across cultures and centuries, goats have carried a weight of meaning that goes far beyond their role as farm animals. In ancient pagan traditions, goats were linked to fertility, vitality, and the raw energy of nature. Their wild, untamed behavior made them symbols of primal instincts and physical desires. Later, when Christianity spread across Europe, these associations shifted dramatically. What was once celebrated became condemned. The goat's link to lust and wildness was reinterpreted as sin and corruption, casting the animal in a darker light. By the Middle Ages, goats were firmly entangled in the imagery of witchcraft and demonology. The infamous Sabbatic goat, or Baphomet, a figure with a goat's head, horns, and a human body, emerged as a representation of Satanic worship, rebellion against the church, and forbidden knowledge. Witches were often accused of attending midnight Sabbaths where goats presided as demonic figures or familiars. The color black added another layer of menace. In European folklore, black animals were frequently viewed as omens of death or carriers of evil spirits. A black goat, therefore, was not simply livestock. It was a living symbol of the devil's presence. Robert Eggers, known for his meticulous historical research, understood this cultural baggage. By placing a black goat at the heart of a Puritan family's story, he tapped into layers of superstition that would have been terrifyingly real in the 17th century. On screen, every glance at Black Phillip carries centuries of fear and myth. He becomes more than flesh and bone. He is temptation given form, rebellion wearing horns, and the unspoken promise of dark freedom. One of the most chilling aspects of Black Phillip is not what he does, but what he doesn't do. For most of the film, he does not speak, does not reveal his true form, and yet his presence is impossible to ignore. He lingers at the edge of the frame, silent, still, and watchful. That very silence is what makes him terrifying. The family's twin children, Mercy and Jonas, claim that Black Phillip whispers to them in secret. To the viewer, it is easy to dismiss this at first as childish play. But in the oppressive, God-fearing world of the Puritans, such a claim is no small thing. It suggests corruption has already crept into the family's fragile walls. Then the goat becomes more than background menace. He lashes out with sudden violence, goring the father in a brutal attack. What makes this act unsettling is not only the savagery, but the sense that it was deliberate, that Black Phillip had been waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Throughout these moments, he embodies the archetype of the silent observer. Present but restrained, patient yet powerful. He does not need to roar or announce his presence. He knows that fear festers most effectively in the unknown. In horror, what is left unsaid, what we imagine rather than what we see, is often the most disturbing. Black Phillip thrives in this ambiguity, letting paranoia do the work long before his true nature is revealed. By the time his voice finally breaks the silence, the audience has already been conditioned to dread him. His quiet watchfulness has transformed into something much more sinister, the certainty that he has been listening all along. After so much silence and suggestion, the moment finally arrives. The goat speaks. In a dark corner of the family's home, Thomasin, broken and alone, asks Black Phillip to answer her. At first, there's only silence. Then comes a voice, low, smooth, and unnervingly seductive. It is the devil's voice, slipping through the darkness with a tone that is both reassuring and terrifying. He does not shout, threaten, or demand. Instead, he tempts. He offers Thomasin simple earthly pleasures, denied to her by the harsh Puritan life she has always known. Fresh butter, fine dresses, and the freedom to taste life without restraint. Then comes the question that echoes as one of horror cinema's most iconic lines. Wouldst thou like to live deliciously? This single question encapsulates the eternal conflict between repression and desire. To the Puritans, indulgence was sin. To Thomasin, whose life had been nothing but hardship, hunger, and blame, it is liberation. The seduction is not in promises of power or destruction, but in something far more human. The chance to live fully, freely, and joyfully, even if it means surrendering her soul. The brilliance of this revelation lies not only in the words, but in their delivery. The calm, intimate voice contrasts with the terror it represents. It feels like a private conversation meant only for Thomasin, yet every viewer feels personally implicated. It is as if Black Phillip is whispering to us too, asking what we might give up for a taste of forbidden freedom. By the end of this scene, Black Phillip is no longer just a goat. He is temptation incarnate, the embodiment of rebellion against all that confines us. And Thomasin's answer seals her fate, as she steps willingly into the world of witches and darkness, guided by the devil who had been standing quietly by her side all along. By the time the witch reaches its haunting conclusion, Black Phillip is revealed for what he truly is. Not merely livestock, not even a sinister symbol, but the devil himself in physical form. For much of the film, his presence is ambiguous. Could the family's paranoia be twisting their perception, or is there truly something evil dwelling in their midst? The final revelation shatters any doubt. Black Phillip was never just a goat. He was Satan incarnate, hidden in plain sight. What makes this reveal so powerful is its restraint. Rather than a monstrous transformation or grotesque spectacle, the devil emerges in the simplest way possible, through words, whispers, and promises. His true form is hinted at only briefly, a shadowy figure walking beside Thomasin, his boots stepping softly on the wooden floor. The devil is not a roaring beast, but a calm guide offering her what she secretly craved: escape, power, and belonging. In this light, Black Phillip represents temptation in its most primal and devastating form. He does not force, he offers. He does not frighten Thomasin into obedience, he seduces her into willing surrender. His power lies in choice, in the illusion that she is finally taking control of her own life. For the Puritans, whose lives were governed by strict rules, fear of God, and constant suspicion of sin, this is the ultimate downfall. The devil not as an invader, but as a liberator. To the family, obsessed with purity and terrified of corruption, Black Phillip was the darkness they had always feared creeping into their lives. But to Thomasin, he became something else entirely. The voice that cut through years of repression and suffering, offering her a different kind of freedom. By the end, Black Phillip stands not only as the villain of the story, but also as its most complex figure, simultaneously destroyer, tempter, and liberator. His role forces us to question whether he is simply evil or whether he embodies a darker truth, that sometimes the devil's bargain is alluring because it offers what human society withholds. While Black Phillip is remembered as one of the most haunting figures in modern horror, the truth behind the camera was far less supernatural and far more chaotic. The goat who played him was a real animal named Charlie, and he quickly gained a reputation among the cast and crew for being stubborn, unpredictable, and even dangerous. Unlike trained Hollywood animals, Charlie had no interest in hitting his marks or calmly following direction. He often refused to move where he was needed, disrupted takes, and turned simple scenes into hours of frustration. Director Robert Eggers later admitted that working with Charlie was one of the film's greatest challenges. The danger was very real. Ralph Ineson, who played the father, was seriously injured when Charlie charged and gored him in the ribs, forcing production to pause. Crew members had to remain cautious at all times because Charlie's temper could flare without warning. What was meant to be a manageable farm animal became a looming hazard on set. And yet, in a strange way, these difficulties added to Black Phillip's legend. The goat's wildness, his refusal to be tamed, and his aggressive nature all contributed to the aura of menace that audiences felt on screen. His unpredictability couldn't have been scripted. It was raw, authentic, and frighteningly real. What began as a logistical nightmare ultimately became part of the film's mythos. Charlie the Goat was not only playing Black Phillip. In the eyes of many, he truly embodied him. His chaos behind the scenes blurred the line between performance and reality, cementing the sense that Black Phillip was never just a role, but a presence too powerful to be controlled. When The Witch premiered in 2015, few expected that a goat would become the film's most enduring legacy. Yet Black Phillip quickly grew beyond the screen, transforming into a cultural phenomenon. Fans latched onto his sinister presence, his shocking revelation, and especially his unforgettable line, "Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?" Almost overnight, Black Phillip became a symbol in horror culture and beyond. Memes spread across the internet, reimagining him as a mischievous yet oddly relatable figure, an embodiment of rebellion against authority, tradition, and repression. Artists created fan art that elevated him into a dark icon, while Halloween saw costumes of the Black Goat appearing in parades and parties. His line in particular struck a nerve. "Wouldst thou like to live deliciously?" was not just a piece of dialogue. It became a mantra. For horror fans, it encapsulated the essence of temptation and fear. For others, it resonated on a deeper level, sparking discussions about personal freedom, indulgence, and the cost of breaking free from oppressive systems. The phrase was adopted in everything from internet bios to motivational memes, often stripped of its horror context and reimagined as a declaration of self-liberation. Black Phillip also carved out a space in academic and cultural analysis. Scholars and critics interpreted him as a symbol of rebellion against patriarchal structures, a representation of female liberation in Thomasin's story, and a mirror of society's hidden desires. He blurred the line between villain and liberator, forcing audiences to confront their own relationship with temptation and control. In the years since The Witch, Black Phillip has remained a modern horror icon. Unlike many monsters who rely on jump scares or gore, he terrifies with simplicity. Just a goat, a whisper, and a question. His legacy proves that sometimes the most chilling figures are not the ones covered in blood, but the ones who ask us to look inward and face what we truly want. Black Phillip is no longer just a character in a film. He is a cultural touchstone, a reminder that evil can be seductive, freedom can be dangerous and temptation can speak in the softest, most irresistible voice. Black Phillip's story began with nothing extraordinary, a goat cast in a historical horror film. But through Robert Eggers' meticulous vision, the weight of centuries of superstition, and the unsettling authenticity of his performance, he transcended his role. He became a chilling embodiment of evil, temptation, and liberation, a figure both feared and admired. What makes Black Phillip so powerful is his duality. To some, he is Satan himself, the corrupter, the destroyer, the shadow that haunted Puritan nightmares. To others, he is a symbol of human longing, of the hidden desire to break free from repression and claim forbidden joy. He is not bound to a single interpretation. His menace comes from the fact that he means something different to every viewer. His legend endures because he speaks to a universal truth. The monsters that terrify us most are not always the ones that bare their teeth or roar in the night. They are the ones who wait patiently, whispering softly, offering what we secretly crave. Black Phillip embodies that truth perfectly, an unassuming goat who became the voice of temptation itself. In the end, Black Phillip is not just a goat from a horror film. He is a mirror, reflecting our darkest fears, our hidden desires, and the eternal question, what would we give up to live deliciously?
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.